First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the transmitting masters and everyone to have this opportunity to talk about staff member mission and responsibilities. Most of you are probably already staff members, and then some of you are new. This actually, technically, this first class is kind of supposed to be geared towards like staff, people who are going to be staff members, and then the second class is kind of general. But anyways, this actually what Johnny said. I'll mention it here. Okay, so basically we're very fortunate to be in the temple, to have received the Tao, to be able to cultivate and practice. Okay, to learn the teachings from the Buddhas. They help guide us because they've achieved enlightenment, and basically their instructions, their guidance help us to also point us in the direction to achieve enlightenment as well, right? Now, because the Buddhas, even though the Buddhas are omnipresent, okay, but they're invisible, we can't see them, and it depends. And in heaven, we in Chinese they say, heaven and earth cannot speak, right? Cannot talk about the Tao, cannot talk about the truth, but so people can. And so it depends on us as people to learn about it and then to kind of spread that truth. Okay, so as staff members, then we have kind of a special mission. There's a lot of other background that maybe for the new people you don't know yet, but basically during this time period, right, we're in the period of universal salvation, the white period, and during this time, our 18th patriarch, right, so because they already started that mission, and they actually continue to perform that mission as Buddhas, okay, but they depend on us as people, as the staff members, to help continue that mission, okay, and so, having received Tao, okay, so we have a pretty good foundation to receive this Tao blessing, right? It's not just, I walk in and to the temple and be able to receive it. It's not, it's more than meets the eye, okay? So it depended on our past lives, cultivation, and merits, all right? So we have a foundation from past lives that lead us here, to be here, okay? Now, as any cultivator, but especially as staff members, okay, that we have the ability to pay off our karmic debts, all right, through our performing of our merits, fulfilling our duties, fulfilling our vows, right? Because we all have karma. We all carry some karmic debts from the past, not just the past lives, but this life too, right? We weren't perfect in this life. We probably committed sins or faults, or did people wrong, right? So a lot of things that we've done that maybe we shouldn't have done. We've killed, I guess, quote unquote killed. If we're not vegetarian, we are continuing to kill, and so these are all karmic. They're going to end up as being karmic debts that we have to pay off, right? And the good thing about this period that we're in is, in this one lifetime, we can pay off our debts and attain Tao, which means return to the absolute heaven. Okay, so we can transcend this cycle of reincarnation. All right, and so we have to practice. We learn, obviously, in the temple. We learn to practice. Now, we should learn to do things properly here. It's possible that, maybe if we didn't learn to do things properly here, we can go back to heaven still, but it's a lot harder to practice there, okay, because we don't have a physical body. Doing some of the proprieties, like the bowing, for example, we have to learn how to do that properly. When we turn back to heaven, because it's the same thing, you're going to do those kinds of bowing, okay, and without a physical body, it all depends on our mind, so to do it properly, and that becomes more difficult, so it takes a lot longer to do it there, and we don't want to waste our time up there, and then in the end find out, we still have to come back in this world to reincarnate and to continue our cultivation, right? So, all right. So we originally made vows in heaven, right? To be here in this world. Now, some of us are maybe, angels or saints or whatever, bodhisattvas, who come back to this world to try to help other sentient beings, to guide them to this enlightenment. But originally, all of us you can say we kind of came down to this world as stewards of this world, of the world, okay? And so we have to, you can say our vow is to return back to heaven, okay? So it's like, when we leave home, right? We don't say, oh, goodbye, I'm never coming back, right? You say, I'm going to leave home, and then I'm going to go do something, and then I'm going to return at the end of the day, or after some period of time. So the same thing. We left heaven with the vow to saying that we will return. Unfortunately, we got caught up in this material world, got mired in it, and so we lost our way. We forgot to go back, and we think, well, this world is very nice. All the material things we can enjoy, but of course, from the Buddhist point of view, there's suffering still. And of course, none of us, I'm sure we all experience some kind of suffering in life. And from the Buddhist point of view, though, suffering is reincarnation. Okay, there's an endless cycle of reincarnation. Because we also have no real guarantee that our next life will be better than this life, right? Depends on what we do, of course. But still, we're caught up in that cycle. And so that is not really the best way. The ideal is to transcend that cycle, go beyond that cycle, to return back to heaven, which is our original vow, our original place where we come from. Okay, now the Dharma class, if we've attended the Dharma class and we completed it, we probably took the 2 vows, okay, at least one of these 2, but usually the 2. They're very basic and general, right? So the first one is to emphasize the divine over the mundane. So, like if basically we have a choice, right? Today's Sunday, we have a choice. Oh, I could either stay home and watch whatever sport, or I can go do our shopping, or I can come here and learn. So we make that choice, hopefully to come to the temple to learn, all right, or to cultivate the practice. Okay, so that is making that kind of choice. It doesn't mean that we have to give up everything else and always come to the temple. It's everything is according to our abilities, our situation. It can be flexible, but we try to, when we have the chance, to come. All right. The second is to contribute by material means or through teaching and guiding others. Okay. Obviously, the material means it's not. There's no set thing say, oh, you have to donate so much. Everything is according to our means, and also if we can't, we have nothing to give, no material things to give, we can always give, warmth, give a smile, give friendliness, give the teachings and guide others. Okay, so that's the other method. So these are pretty broad and general. And basically, these are kind of the foundation. These vows are kind of the foundation on this path of cultivation to achieve ultimately Buddhahood. Okay, so all Buddhas, have these vows. They're more specific, but these are kind of the most broad and general. It's for beginners. So, but we can all basically achieve these. Okay, as long as we don't give up and just say, oh, I don't feel like coming to the temple anymore because someone said something to me, or then that's kind of we've kind of wasted an opportunity. All right. Okay, so now if we do not fulfill our vows, we might not be able to return to heaven, and even if we can, we probably won't be able to stay there for long. Okay, so the vows. If we make vows, we have to fulfill them. They're a promise. Promise to God, promise to Buddhas, promise to ourselves that we would, fulfill these vows, right? So if we break the promise, well, then we're on our own. Okay, so we have to fulfill our vows. Now, of course, these two up here are not, there's no set time frame or any kind of, you have to achieve certain amount, something. It's not like that, right? These are, again, very general and broad. But if we make other vows, if we are a staff member, staff member makes a staff member vow. If we are a vegetarian, there's a vegan, it's actually vegan vow, okay? These, of course, we have to uphold to the end, right? But yeah, fulfilling our vows, fulfilling our promises, basically, that is a key to us returning back to heaven. I mean, in fulfilling our vows, of course, we are actually earning merits and perhaps also cultivating our virtues. Okay, so these are things, merits and virtues are the two things that really are the most important things for us to return back to heaven, right? And to be able to stay there. So the Buddhas, they have, probably, pretty much infinite merits and virtue. Okay, so, we try to do as much as possible. Plus, those are the things that can help us overcome our karmic debts, right? Now, usually the staff class is like a year. Okay, so now in the Chinese class, I mean, it's more specific to that. Now here in the English class, we kind of use some of the topics in here, so it's not really a full year's worth of classes. In the Chinese class, you have to have a 2/3 attendance in the classes to be able to, at a very minimum, to meet the requirements to become a staff member. Okay. Plus, there's some knowledge that we have to know, and also the practices, the proprieties that we also have to know, which I'll talk about next. All right. Well, staff members, okay, so we have to know how to learn to help in the temple and in Tao affairs, and whether it's propagating Tao or helping to teach or guide, encourage Tao members. We should always try to take every opportunity to propagate the Tao, which is to ferry. Sometimes you hear the term to ferry sentient beings. Ferrying because basically, the metaphor is that we're in the bitter sea, right? We're on one shore, and then there's the other shore of enlightenment. We're on the shore of ignorance, you can say, in this world, and we want to get to the other shore of enlightenment. To get to the other shore of enlightenment, so we have to ferry. Now we already received the Tao blessing. We understand where we're going. We need to help other sentient beings get to that shore of enlightenment as well. So we ferry them across. Okay, so respect everyone and make cultivating Tao and carrying out Tao affairs our top priority. Okay, so now I'm talking about the staff members, right? Once, or if we want to become a staff member, or if we are a staff member, these are things that we would want to do, right? Of course, well, everyone. I mean, not even staff members, but everyone. Of course, we should always have respect. Okay. Contribute time, effort, money, etc., or share the Dharma, share the teachings. Okay. Again, so there are many forms. These are all forms of performing merits. Okay. We can do all of these, any or all of them, okay? And we do it to the best of our abilities, right? Also, internally, we have to get rid of our bad temper and habits, right? So these are the things that, we all have some kind of temperament, and we all have some kind of bad habits, or so we should try to get rid of these things. Because these aren't the things that we had originally. Okay, so a Buddha does not have any of these things. Just like an infant child is born, they might have their, well, a lot of these are kind of acquired. Okay, of course, our temperament, our disposition might be affected by, you can say what we call the qi, when we were born, where we were born, etc. Those are factors, but we do our best to get rid of our bad tempers, and a lot of these, sometimes the temperament or habits are accumulated over lifetimes, and so just like a habit that's that we've had for a long time, it's hard to break, right? So imagine you have a habit that's that you've had for many lifetimes. It'd definitely be very difficult. So but we should, once we learn the principles, learn the truth, and we want to try to change that, right? Because that affects our character, affects our virtues. All right, always be sincere. Sincere, coming from deep in that heart. Okay, basically, are coming from our Buddha nature, really, being genuine. All right, so maybe a lot of times we do things just it's perfunctory, it's just superficial, right? But we should, when we do it, we mean it. Okay, or when we say things, etc. It should all be very sincere because that is really showing our true nature, our true Buddha nature. We should always be grateful, thankful, right? So we always, I did, like, for example, in the beginning of class, we always say thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, or any time that we have the opportunity, we give thanks. We always give thanks to heaven's grace and the master's virtues, because heaven has given us everything, right? Heaven and earth provides everything for us, and the masters are those like the Buddhas, the saints, the patriarchs, all right? You can say the predecessors who come before us, because of their virtues that allow, that you can say make this path easier for us, okay? So there is much to be thankful and grateful for. And to show that great gratitude, right, we need to cultivate ourselves to the best of our ability and to try to perform our mission, okay? Okay, so basic proprieties, right? Basically, usually, I don't know, maybe sometimes the person isn't there, but when we come into the temple, someone is there to greet us and offer. Well, we don't do the hand towel anymore because there are too many people and it gets dirty, right? So we use the hand sanitizer. But the idea of that is, we're not just cleaning our hands, right? That's the external side, but the internal, we have to clean our heart and mind, right? We come in with a empty heart and mind, clean, right? We don't think of all sorts of things. We're here to learn the Dharma, okay? All right, learn to be of service to others, especially new people in the temple, okay? So we're all here to not just learn and practice ourselves, but also to help others, to be of service to especially new people when they come in. They don't know, they're not familiar with, they may not know anyone, or they're not familiar with the environment or what we're doing here, so we can talk to them and be friendly and try to encourage them, okay? Always be courteous, friendly, and harmonious, okay? Obviously, in the in temple, it should be, more so than anywhere else, that we can all be in harmony. Everyone is courteous and friendly. It just shows that we're all cultivators. Always be humble and modest, right? To come in and say, oh yeah, I know all this. So once we say that, then there's nothing for us to learn, and we can't learn anything else. So we have to be humble and modest all the time, so that we can learn. There's always something to learn, okay? No matter how much we know, or we think we know, okay? We can always learn something else. It's just that, so that comes from the ego, so that's like being the opposite of having that ego, right? Being egoistic. We want to learn to adopt a vegan diet and lifestyle. That's pretty important because one of the five precepts is to not kill. And so adopting a vegan diet means that we don't kill. We don't kill to eat, right? And so it's not a requirement, but it's encouraged, definitely. And there are many reasons why. There's a whole topic about why. But you can say that karma is one, health is one. There are many benefits to being vegan, right? Wear the uniform. Okay, so basically for a staff member anyways, we should wear a uniform, which is basically what we see, a white shirt or blouse with a collar, navy or black pants, or if women are wearing skirts, it should be at least knee length or longer skirts. It's kind of plain, and that's true, but there is no real distinction, right? We are all the same. We are all equal, right? From a Buddhist point of view, we all have that Buddha nature, so we're all the same. It doesn't matter what our character is, what kind of status we have. We are all equal inside, and so this is kind of showing that there's no difference among us, and also that we aren't because one of the four things that Tao is that it's plain and simple. Okay, so it's not fancy, right? So we don't wear fancy dress or anything like that. It's so as a staff member, we display that as well. Okay. Okay, so this as a staff member, we also must know this arrival and departure propriety. Okay, so when we enter the temple, it's like basically you greet the host. In this case, the host is God. Okay, God and the Buddhas, right? And so we do our greeting, which is we call this arrival to propriety. Also, when we leave, it's the same thing. Okay, the departure. Basically, we do a certain number of bows at the altar. Okay, and the bowing, basically. Well, okay, so there's basically this is kind of the procedure here. You know, so Zuyi is that standing bow with the half circle motion, right? The arms, and then Gui means to kneel down. Okay, and then I guess we'll have a separate. You know, we have other kind of class or time where we show that, demonstrate how it's done. Okay. But the first thing is Miming Sangdi. Miming Sangdi is God. Okay, so God or God Almighty, right? So we do 5 bows, okay, to God Almighty. Zhujian Shensheng is basically all Buddhas, saints that have, all those who have, who are in heaven. Okay, so that's 3 bows. And then Mila Jusi is the Maitreya Buddha, Happy Buddha. Okay, because he's the first individual Buddha listed here because he is the Buddha in charge during this time. So he's the big Buddha right now. And so he gets 3 bows. Nanhai Gufu is otherwise also known as Guanyin Bodhisattva. Okay, so Guanyin Bodhisattva or Avalokitesvara is also basically is, you know, kind of has rank, if you will. I mean, you can kind of say this is kind of a ranking. And so Nanhai Gufu is ranked next because she's been around a long time and she's always constantly helping people, helping to propagate the Tao, spread the Tao. Okay, so it's 1 bow. Hofo Sijin, or sometimes you hear Hofo Ensi, that is basically referring to our holy teacher, Jigong Living Buddha. Okay, one of our holy teachers. And so he gets 1 bow. Yerhui Pusa is the other holy teacher, is also 1 bow. Now these are, okay, so the Jigong Living Buddha and Yerhui Bodhisattva, okay, so they've also incarnated into this world as what we call the 18th patriarch and matriarch. Okay, so within the last century, they were the patriarchs. And so that's Suzun, which is 18 patriarchs. So he's the incarnation of this Jigong Living Buddha here. So we do additional bow there. And then Sumu is the matriarch. Okay, so this is also the only time we have a matriarch. And then Den Chuanshi is the transmitting master or transmitter. Okay, the transmitting master has a mandate. They have the authority to transmit the Tao. Okay, transmit the 3 treasures to us. All right, and they get that authority from basically Sujun Sumu, or, you know, basically our holy teachers. Okay, and so we do a bow to that. And then also Yinbao Si is the introducer and guarantor. All right, for us receiving the Tao, right, there's always an introducer and guarantor. So we do a bow to them. We basically, without them, we would not be here. Okay, so Quanshen Dazong means everyone who's present. Okay, so again, we show respect. We take a bow to everyone who's present, and then we rise. Now, if there's a transmitting master present, we kneel again, kneel down, and then do another bow to the transmitter or transmitters who are present. Okay, and finally, you know, we rise, and then after doing the Zoyi, and then do a bow like that, and so that's it. Okay, so this is something that, you know, hopefully as a staff member, over the course of a year, we should know, learn this, and be able to do it ourselves. Okay. All right, so that's very basic. Next, there are some kind of principles and rules and regulations that we all have to follow within the temple. Okay, so there's something called the three purities or distinctions, right? So you notice in temple we separate, right, male and female. There's a separation in how we sit or line up, even doing the bowing, right? The males do the bowing and then the females do the bowing, so it's not like mixed together. Okay. This is not like a social mixer. This is we're in a divine holy place, and so this is kind of we have to know our place. Okay, so and then the second one is the separation of public and temple and private financial transactions, and there should be some full transparency and accountability. So we should not mix our personal finances with the temple's finances. I mean that's a big no-no, right? So it's very clear. Temples is the temple stuff, and then our own is separate. All right, so we cannot get that mixed up. Separation of divine and mundane matters. Okay, so when we come to the temple, right, we're not conducting personal business. We're not trying to do any personal kind of stuff or conducting any kind of business. Okay, so we're here when we're in the temple. It's all about the divine stuff, the dharma, the teachings, and the practice. Okay, so the next is what we call the four. I call it the four decorums. Okay, or you can say the four proper conducts. Decorum of the mind, decorum of the body, decorum of the speech, and decorum of actions. Okay, so of course, we know basically what's proper. We do things that are proper, or we say things that are proper. Okay, and appropriate. All right. So now the body. Okay, so we have actions, but the body means kind of actions is relating to others. The body is ourselves. Okay, so so we shouldn't do things that is improper, even if it doesn't affect other people. Okay, the mind, of course, we shouldn't be scheming all the time. We shouldn't be thinking bad thoughts, anything that might be improper. Okay. All right. Then there's the three introspections. Okay, so this is from Zhenzi, one of Confucius's disciples, right? So he says basically, have I been loyal and sincere in my dealings with others? Okay, so basically every day, at the end of the day, he would reflect on himself and ask himself these three questions. Okay, so have I been loyal and sincere in dealing with others? Okay, so again, the key is that we either be loyal and or sincere in what we do. Okay, have I been trustworthy in my interactions with friends? Right, among friends, or you can say in general, anyone, that we always have to be trustworthy and show trust. Okay, and have I practiced what I've been taught? Right, so hopefully, we don't come here just to learn, book knowledge and academic knowledge. I mean, we're here to learn something practical and useful in our lives that can help us, guide us in this cultivation and to be able to attain enlightenment, right? And then there's the four do nots, or four, no evil. It's like you can say, you can either say it as, see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil, and do no evil, or say it this way: do not say what is improper, hear what is improper, say what is improper, or do what is improper. Okay. That's similar. That's kind of similar to this four decorums, but basically, yeah. But that was Zhenzi, his he did the three reflections or introspections and the four do nots. Okay, all right. Okay. Now there's another key concept is to respect the teachers, the masters, and the Tao. All right. Basically, respecting the Buddha, saints, patriarchs, predecessors, transmitters, and their instructions and teachings. Right? Now, of course, if it turns out that even the Buddhas tell us this, if they say something or tell us to do something that is maybe against our conscience or something that's illegal, of course, we should not follow that. Okay, so that could be a test. Okay, for example, And so we shouldn't just blindly follow. So we have to understand. We have to use our wisdom. We have to know what's proper, what's appropriate, and so then that will guide us. So again, don't go the path of blind faith or blind following. That is showing that we have no wisdom. Okay, so we have to have wisdom. Follow the principles of Tao as well. Okay, so that's why we're here to learn the principles of Tao so that we know how to follow them correctly. All right. Then there's something else called 承上启下, which is observe the protocol and dealings with those above us and those below us. Okay, so now we are, usually we think, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a lecturer, and so, I'm above most people, or, but, there are always people above and below us. This especially also applies to like Tao members, right? Those who've received the Tao before us and those who received the Tao after us. Okay, so it can apply in those cases too. But in general, or more specifically, this is talking about there's like a protocol, okay, that happens. So if we want, there's an issue, right? We go to, there's a director. There would always be like a director, a lecturer who's a director, okay? And so we always go to the director and ask about that issue or whatever. Then that director, that lecturer will, if it cannot resolve it, goes to the transmitting master who's also a director, okay? So it kind of goes up the chain, and then finally that directing transmitting master also goes to the senior transmitter, okay? So we don't go directly, jump the levels and go all the way to the top. That would put the senior transmitter or kind of in a bad spot sometimes. Okay, so we have to go through this process, all right? And it's the same thing when coming down, right? So basically, like we report. If we have something to report, like maybe I'm leaving, like I'm going to be gone for a few weeks, right? Then we should let the director, the lecturer, or maybe even the class director that you're going to be absent, and then also report when we come back, right? So that goes up the chain, and then instructions kind of come down the chain too. I mean, this is the ideal. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work out this way. I mean, sometimes things come directly from the top, or but.
So in the English class, the director in charge is Johnny. Johnny, raise your hand.
Yeah, so he's kind of directing in the class, and then there's also a monthly director, the lecturer, which right now is lecturer Kenny Du. But there's also other, you can say that there are multiple different directors. I mean, I'm also one of the directors for this class. So you can all find, if you need something, ask, you can ask us. Okay. So again, goes up and down the chain. This is kind of to maintain kind of this order, if you will. Okay. Okay. So one thing that sometimes we see that we shouldn't do is, I don't like the answer that I was given, and so I go up another level and bypass this one. It's like, oh, he didn't give me he didn't agree to this, and so he goes up to the next person, the next one up, and asks. That's kind of breaking this rule, if you will, breaking the protocol. We shouldn't do that. Okay, just because basically whatever response that we get, that should be the answer. I mean, if there's really a problem with that maybe they didn't give a good answer response, then yeah, we can ask again. But we should not, try to break the protocol. All right. Everyone is potential Buddha, right? So we should not criticize or treat anyone badly. That seems like basic decorum, right? So, but realize that yes, every single person, all sentient beings have that Buddha nature, and therefore they can become Buddhas, right? Now, animals, of course, they cannot become a Buddha right away. They have to become human first. So But as human beings, right, we are all equal in that sense, that we all have that potential to become Buddhas. And so we don't want to get into a situation where we really offend someone right now, but then later on they become a Buddha, and we're going to feel really bad. Okay, so we should try to avoid that as much as possible. Give everybody respect and warmth, right, especially new people in the temple, right, make them feel welcome. We must know all our responsibilities and be able to perform all our duties. Okay, so again, if we're assigned a duty, then we need to, if we don't know exactly what needs to be done, then we can ask. They'll teach us, and we can, so that we can fulfill the duty. Right? It's again, no. Right? Okay, I mentioned this already. No personal or business dealings in the temple. Right? We don't want to create any misunderstandings in the temple. Okay, so we're here just for the divine matters. Avoid giving Tao and the temple a bad name. Okay, so we have to be careful in our speech and conduct. Be a role model, right? Once we are in the Tao, maybe as a new member we're not very clear on things, but definitely as a staff member we have to be very clear. We actually are representing the Tao. Okay, so we have to be like a role model, and we have to be very careful in what we say, how we conduct ourselves, what we do. All right, because other people will see that. When we try to introduce, bring people to receive the Tao blessing, you can say actions speak louder than words, right? Or our conduct speaks louder than words, and so that's basically it. So we don't necessarily have to say very much. If they can see it in us, in our conduct, in our demeanor, then it'll be a lot easier. Perform the arrival propriety unless there is an offering ceremony, Tao receiving ceremony, or class in progress. Okay, so usually we arrive before the class, and so we perform that. In the small temple area, there are 2 people there, the announcers. They help do the announcing for doing the bows, so you can go there first. If class is already in progress, probably, I don't know if they're still there, but they won't be there. Okay, so you can just, if we come in, we can take 3 bows over there, or four bows, one for the transmitting master, so 3 or 4 bows, and then we come into the class, right? Tao receiving ceremony, usually it's in the big temple, all right, and usually when that's happening, the doors will be closed, so people shouldn't be going in and out. All right. If there's anything that we see that needs to be done in the temple, we should do it. If no one else is doing it, for example, cleaning up. If we see water or something spilled on the floor, no one's doing anything about it, we should do it. Okay, so we have a responsibility to help, clean. That's the cleaning aspect. Okay. Those prayer cushions that we use in doing the bowing in the temple, all right, you don't want to kick them, step over them, sit on them, right, step on them. Those are, we have to show some kind of respect too, all right? Okay, of course we can't just talk, right, we must do, right? We have to walk the walk, right? Don't talk or walk around during the Tao receiving ceremony. Again, inside, if we're inside observing the Tao receiving ceremony or participating in it, we shouldn't be talking unless we're asked to, right? Or we shouldn't be moving around. Do not share the 3 treasures with people who are about to receive Tao unless the transmitting master instructs us to do so. So, yeah, sometimes this happens, right? People are about to receive the Tao, they're standing there, and then the people, maybe the introducer who brought them, is starting to show them how to hold the hands, how to do all this stuff. Okay, so they shouldn't do that until they're actually kneeling down and going through that ceremony, and the transmitter says you can do that, right? Because otherwise we're kind of revealing the secret before it's time. Okay. If we bring someone from other temples, if there are people from other temples, right, coming to our temple, there has to be an acknowledgement between the 2 transmitting masters of the 2 temples. Okay. And so that's part of actually that this observing that protocol. Okay, that's part of that protocol. So basically, we ask, for us, okay, we want to visit another temple. or maybe another temple invited us. We go through our director and transmitting master, and then they have to agree for us, and both sides have to agree, of course, for that to happen. All right. So this way we don't create kind of chaos. It's like a free for all. Anyone go anywhere they want. That's not, there's no discipline, right? So this is kind of one of a discipline, if you will, right? And that it just won't. If we observe this, then we don't create all sorts of problems, because sometimes they come here and they come here and we don't know if they're really going to stay here or whatever, or visiting. So it has to be very clear, their purpose, right? Okay, so in conclusion, the rules and regulations of the temple is, the Buddhas always say, that's the ladder to heaven. Okay, so we have to, that's like a guide rail, okay, to get us in the direction of, if we follow those rules and regulations, that we can eventually, we can get to where our goal, right, which is heaven, right? The achievement comes from fulfilling our vows and responsibilities, right? So if we just know this, but we don't do anything, then that's not enough. Of course, we have to perform our duties, right? Fulfill our vows. So having merits, okay, so that's external achievement, that we do things, but if we don't have internal virtues, that leads to the path of evil, which is asuras, okay? So asuras have been cultivators. They've performed merits, right? But inside, right, either they're angry, they're greedy, they don't have that virtue, okay? And so they become asuras, right? So that's not what we want either, okay? So that's not a Buddha, right? They have to reincarnate. Having virtue, okay, so the internal side, okay, so I'm a good person, right? I've gotten rid of my bad habits, my temper, but if I don't perform any merits, then it's difficult to become a saint and Buddha, right? There's no external achievement, right? A saint and Buddha is, the idea is to try to save all sentient beings, right? Guide them to enlightenment. And so if we just practice for ourselves, right, we become like an arhat, okay? So that's not a Buddha. Okay, having virtue without Tao, right, one cannot transcend life, death, and rebirth. So even though I'm a good person, I'm very virtuous, but I don't receive the Tao, then I'm still stuck in the cycle. Yes, I can become a diva for a while, maybe a few hundred years, 1,000 years, but eventually I have to reincarnate again. Okay, so that's not the ultimate either. So having the Tao without virtue, one cannot attain a position in heaven or a lotus platform. So having received the Tao, yes, that's our ticket to heaven, but we have to have virtues, right, to be able to have that position, like a title, like become a Buddha or saint. Okay, otherwise we're there and we still need to cultivate, and probably we don't have enough time to cultivate up there, and we have to come back again to cultivate. All right, so that's kind of basic, kind of an overview of what is required of us as staff members if we want to pursue this path of becoming a staff member, and and going beyond that. But the first step is that we have to attend a Dharma class and take those 2 vows in the Dharma class before we can even start becoming a staff member. Okay, so, all right, so if I had said anything wrong, I asked the Buddhas for forgiveness, and also asked for the lecturer's correction.